This week, I want to show you a bunch of animals I never talk about. I do a lot of top fives of other people's animals, but what about the ones that are in my collection that don't get shown off? Today, I'm showing you the top five, actually more, coolest reptiles I've never shown on the channel. My name's Adam, this is Dave, you're watching Wickens Wicked Reptiles. Stick around. Finally got a Leachianus Gecko. This is Dave. Now, I'm saying in this video that I've not shown these animals before, but if you watch the live streams, thank you, first of all, and we have shown Dave in the lives. Now, Leachianus geckos are the biggest gecko of all the geckos. What makes them super different in comparison to basically all the other geckos is the fact that they're so big and they do eat bugs, but they'll also eat a powdered diet. So a New Caledonian gecko in the Rhactodactylus family. So they are related to gargoyle geckos and chahua geckos, and even though crested geckos technically aren't Rhactodactylus anymore, they're related to them too. And some of them come from the same parts of New Caledonia. Now this is one of the bigger locales, and you can see that it has the pinks and greens, and he makes this cool little squeaking sound, and he's got this nubby little tail, which is hilarious by the way. And they love to jump, so that's why I'm kind of holding him like this, bracing for him to jump onto my chest. I love Leachianus geckos. Now, get one as a baby from a reputable breeder because, let me tell you, if they bite you, it sucks. But you can get some that are really good for handling, and just others won't be. Dave, so far, so good, knock on wood. Either way, let's go outside, and I want to show you some other really cool ones. Number 4, we'll do it outside because we're shooting B-roll of what is a leopard boa. So a leopard boa is actually a morph of a Sonoran boa. Now, boa constrictors, BCIs or BCCs, are coming from below the US for the most part, so Central America and South America, and this is technically a North American boa because it's from Mexico, mostly. So for the Sonoran Desert or northern fringe of the Sonoran Desert is where you find the Sonoran boa. Now, the leopard boa is an inheritable trait. In fact, it is a recessive trait, and this morph is highly variable. So you see here that has a lot of earth tones and browns and bronzes and these red colors, and you're gonna find that leopard boas sometimes show these or darker colors or maybe even lighter. So normally I don't get too in the weeds about morphs, but I mean, this boa is unbelievably good looking. And the great thing about Sonoran boas is they're only going to get about 4 or 5 feet. So these boas are going to be about the size of a ball python, but they're super inquisitive. They're also great eaters, and they look really cool in the sunshine. Not quite the same iridescence that you'd see in a Brazilian or something like that, but these guys definitely have a lot more iridescence, a lot more shine to them than other species of, say, ball pythons and things like that. So if you're looking for a boa that doesn't get too big, that's a little bit easier because they like it a little bit drier, that still eats really well and doesn't get too big, you can't beat a Sonoran boa. And if you're looking for morphs, well, the leopard boa is the one to get. Number 3, I finally got one. I know that if you've been watching the channel for a long time, BlueEyed Lucy's used to be, I don't know, $700-800, and now they're finally affordable, and if you get them from a rescue, they're even more affordable. So I got this guy here at a rescue for $100 Canadian, which is 13 cents American, I think is the conversion rate. His name is Luca, and he's about a year old now. So this is a male ball python. I'm not sure the genetics. So BlueEyed Lucy's, I know it sounds really weird to get a white snake like this, which is a ball python, by the way. If you don't know a lot about genetics, a white ball python can be made in a few ways. You can actually take a dark snake, a Mojave snake, and put it to a Mojave snake, and then you get one. Or you can get a yellow belly and put it to a yellow belly. And there's even black-eyed Lucy's. So if you put a fireball python to a fireball python, then you get a black-eyed white snake. So there's a bunch of different ways to do it, and there's more genetics than that, but this isn't the genetics channel. This is me talking about all these animals that I am so excited to have. And one of the cool things about white ball pythons is they look so unbelievably white and clean, but dirt shows up. So sometimes I'll pull this guy out and I'll freak out because I think, oh, how is there a mite on him? And it's just a little speck of dirt, especially once they dry off and all the dirt kind of falls off of them. He's got a little bit of a speck on his nose, which is just dirt that I've been trying to wipe off, but he's a little squirmy. But those blue eyes are absolutely unbelievably cool looking. He looks like some sort of Swedish god or something without the hair. Ball pythons, 4 feet if it's a male, sometimes even less than that. I've got some males that are 3.5 feet. So he'll be ready to breed probably next year, and then we can figure out what the genetics are. Some BlueEyed Lucy precursors, let's call them, if you breed them with another, it works, and sometimes it doesn't. So we're gonna figure out what he is, but if nothing else, he's an amazing pet. He's a great display animal. And if anyone ever wants to come over and say, hey, you know, show me a ball python, if it's not Pikachu, it's gonna be this guy here. So probably not the most exciting one on the list, but I had to take him outside to shoot a little bit of B-roll of him and tell you a little bit about him. But the next one I think is probably the coolest one on the list. Coming in at number 2, there are tons of rainbow boa species. They all come in different shapes and sizes. Well, it's sizes, but they're all the same shape, and that's noodle-like, but the colors are definitely not the same, and this is the granddaddy of them all. This is a Brazilian rainbow boa. If your friend says, hey, I saw a rainbow boa on TikTok, it was the coolest thing, do you have one? This is what they mean. Now, of course, they do get bigger. This is an animal that's going to get about 5 feet, which is crazy because an animal that is this shiny, that is this iridescent, it looks like it shouldn't even be real. It's something that's mythical, something that a 5-year-old drew for a coloring contest. I can't even believe that these things occur in nature, but they do. And it is a boa species, which means that there is no eggs. These things give live birth. So one day, if you have two, a mommy and a daddy, Brazilian rainbow boa, and they love each other very much, you might come down and there might be no eggs, but babies just crawling around in the cage one day, which is something that's really cool because unlike days like today where I went down and found my carpet pythons with a bunch of eggs, which I was not planning to have happen, you actually find a whole bunch of babies in the enclosure. The same thing that happens sometimes with blue-tongued skinks if you put blue-tongued skinks together, garter snakes, things like that. So in my opinion, snakes that don't lay eggs, that actually have live young, are super interesting. And imagine just a bunch of little worms because they come out this iridescent, this shiny, and then after their first shed get even crazier looking. Now, of course, this is an animal that is going to eat for you really, really well. She eats for me really well. Rats, when she gets a little bit bigger. Right now she's on mice. They can eat small birds. Sometimes they'll eat your fiance's hands if they're poking around in there. It just really depends on what you want to feed them. But one of the coolest species, a bucket list animal for me for sure. When I first started talking on the channel, I was talking about how of all the animals I could ever have, I want a leucistic ball python and I want a Brazilian rainbow boa. And I'm the luckiest dude ever, but you could have one too because the prices of Brazilian rainbow boas have come down significantly. In fact, I traded this animal for a baby Burmese python that was going to go for 250 or 300 bucks. So it was a pretty even trade. I'm pretty happy with it. Well mannered, great animal, and I can't wait for Callie here to grow up into a 5-foot monster boa with all the shine in the world. I wanted to update you also on the giant paludarium that we have that has the red-eyed tree frogs, 4 of them, and when we set it up, it had a bunch of fish. So a few months ago, we did a reptile house tour with all the house stuff that is in the reptile room, and we showed this enclosure, and it looked a little bit different. Since then, the moss has grown in, and we had something really exciting happen. We had the red-eyed tree frogs start to lay eggs, and the way that we did that is we set up kind of a terrible rain chamber. I didn't do a really good job, but it got the job done. Basically, I just used a different misting system, the Exoterra misting system. I drew the water from inside of here, and then I put it up here, so it basically created a rain chamber, and that was kind of it. Super simple. It's broken now, that's why I can't show you. But either way, the eggs we were going to get and put into their own enclosure so that the fish wouldn't eat the small tadpoles, but it turns out they beat us to it. And the eggs actually dropped before we could get to them. The good news is the tadpoles are freaking huge, and I have no issue at all. The fish are not eating them. They're almost bigger than the fish now. I think it's gonna be really cool to watch these polywags, some would call them, the tadpoles grow until they're about 3 months or so in the water, and then they're gonna start to climb out. Either way, I'm really excited about this. If you want to see a full episode on this enclosure, let me know. I'd be happy to show you. Now, I want to show you also just the sticks and bricks enclosure real quick because it actually is doing really good. All these animals are doing fantastic. There's 6 leopard geckos in here still. They're all doing fantastic. They're actually gaining weight, all of them, because they were still not full grown, right? So a gram here, a gram there. We pull them out every week to check on them, and we rearrange, and then we make sure that we do some spot cleaning too. This is one of the best enclosures I ever made. Maybe not aesthetically, but the fact that the geckos are doing well is all that matters to me because it's all about function before form. So who cares what it looks like? What is most important is the way that the animals feel, and if they have the right setup and they're getting enough enrichment, which they definitely are in this enclosure. Quick update with Mushu as well. We did a video right here setting up this enclosure. We did have to get rid of this big Dieffenbachia plant because she absolutely destroyed it with her claws, but otherwise it's doing really, really well. Misting system is actually going in today, drilled for it, and I decided that we're gonna do it and see how it goes even with the bulb, but either way, it's going great. Cinder blocks and rocks are a great way to set up enclosures, and Mushu is absolutely loving. It's honestly amazing to see the difference in behavior. Brand new UVB, perfect basking spot, bigger enclosure, and she is moving and grooving, and she's basking on the basking spot all the time. So there you go. That's a mini tour of all the animals I don't show, and I've got a lot more. Should I do the animals that I almost never show show. My Schneider skinks haven't been on the channel in over a year now. I barely ever talk about the hognose snakes. Should we do more videos about this collection, or go back to basics with the stuff that you came here for in the first place? Let me know in the comments section below. Give me a video idea while you're at it if you want to. And as always, a special thanks to the Patreon supporters. You guys get videos early, discounts on merch. You knew about all these guys, including the crazy clutch of eggs I never thought I'd get last week. All that on Patreon for as little as $1. And that's it. I do videos on Mondays and Thursdays, so I'll see you in the next one.